My child, listen closely, because what I am about to share with you is heavy, real, and raw. And it is not a story you can afford to ignore. This is not a tale spun for drama or a movie script playing out for entertainment on a screen. This is a reality unfolding right now. There is a woman out there at this very moment, tangled in wires and hooked to machines. Her eyes barely open as she gasps for every single breath. Each breath she takes isn't a gift or a relief. It is a heavy weight, a constant reminder, and a chain keeping her tethered to this world when she is begging to leave. She wants to go. She wants to find peace and escape this agony. But something powerful holds her back because heaven isn't done with her yet. This is happening right now in a cold, sterile room where machines beep rhythmically and time drags on endlessly for a soul that cannot find rest. A woman lies there not fighting for life in the way you might think, but wrestling with a punishment that simply will not let her go. This is karma, my child, in its truest, most unflinching form. A balance that must be restored before the spirit can depart. Until her debt is paid in full, until every wrong she has done is faced and acknowledged, she will keep breathing, trapped in her own tragic story. You might be wondering who she is and why she is lying there, caught in the terrifying space between life and death. What did she do to deserve this kind of prolonged suffering? The truth is heavy, complicated, and it is not simple to digest. Her hands, though they look weak now, carry the invisible, crushing weight of lives she destroyed. We are not talking about small mistakes. We are talking about not one, not two, but 3 souls who never got a chance to breathe the air of this world. They were unborn, innocent, and taken before their time. But you need to know exactly what she did and whose lives these were. I'm going to tell you everything step by step because the truth deserves to be heard and witnessed. If you are ready to receive this, if your heart is strong enough to carry this burden of truth, give me your time and I will lay it all bare for you. We must look at the sins, the dark secrets, and the specific reasons she is still here, half alive in that ICU bed. To understand the end, we must go back to where it all began 3 years ago. Picture a young woman full of light, her heart warm and bursting with the beautiful dream of becoming a mother. She was so close to the finish line, so close to holding her first child in her arms and realizing her deepest desire. Her home was alive with hope, filled with tiny clothes folded with care, a crib waiting in the corner, and soft blankets ready for a new life. Every night without fail, she would rest her hand on her belly, whispering to the life growing inside, promising love, safety, and a beautiful future. She was only 1 month away from meeting her baby, counting down the days on the calendar and imagining their little face. She would dream vividly of their first smile, their tiny fingers wrapping around hers, and the sound of their laughter filling the hallways of her home. She and her husband would sit together in the evenings, planning, laughing, and picking out names that felt just right for the soul they were about to meet. The nursery was prepared with love, painted a soft yellow that felt like sunshine, and every detail was perfect, down to the little stuffed bear waiting on the shelf. They would lie awake at night talking about what their child would be like. Would they have her eyes or his laugh? Would they love music or books? Or maybe both? The future felt so close, so real, like a promise they could almost touch with their hands. But one night, without warning, everything just stopped. The kicks, the flutters, the heartbeat, they were all gone. A silence took over the house so heavy and oppressive that it felt like it broke her spirit right then and there. She lay in bed, clutching her belly in desperation, whispering to her baby, begging for a sign of life. But there was absolutely nothing. Panic set in, and she rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding in her chest, her husband gripping her hand, both of them praying for a miracle. But the ultrasound screen remained still. It showed nothing. No movement, no sign of life, only a devastating emptiness. The doctors slowly shook their heads, their faces heavy with sympathy. They called it a tragedy and said softly, "Sometimes these things happen." But those words felt hollow. If this video brought hope to your soul, please consider using the Super Thanks feature to support our message. They used clinical terms like unexplained and loss, yet those words could never carry the enormous weight of her pain. She sat in that hospital room, staring at the silent screen, feeling as if her entire world was collapsing around her. Her husband held her tightly, his own tears falling quietly as they both realized they would be returning home to a nursery that would remain empty. The tiny socks, the crib, the small teddy bear. In a single moment, they transformed from symbols of hope into painful reminders of a dream that had slipped through their hands. Yet even in her grief, she did not scream. She did not curse heaven. Instead, she bowed her head and whispered softly, "If this is meant to be, I trust there is a reason." But inside, her heart was shattered. The pieces of her pain felt scattered like broken glass across the floor, and she had no idea how to gather them again. Time continued to move forward, but the ache remained buried deep within her. Her heart carried scars, yet her love was strong enough to keep her moving forward. She was not ready to give up on her dream. She told herself, "One loss does not mean forever." So she gathered her courage and tried again. When she discovered she was pregnant a second time, a gentle light returned to her eyes. But this time, it was mixed with caution. Hope slowly began to bloom again. Laughter returned to their home, and for a moment it felt as though life was giving her another chance to become a mother. She carried her second child carefully, feeling every kick and every small movement as if it were a fragile miracle she was terrified to lose. She was more cautious now, guarding her heart, yet still filled with hope that this time would be different. Sometimes she would sit quietly in the nursery, resting her hand on the same crib, imagining it filled again, refusing to let fear steal her hope. Her husband would wrap his arms around her, and together they would talk about the future, convincing each other that the storm had finally passed. If you are listening to this story and you feel the weight of this pain, take a moment right now and type "I am listening" in the comments so this message can reach others who need to hear it. By commenting, you help share the light and expose the darkness. They dreamed of teaching their child to ride a bicycle, of family picnics in the sunshine, and bedtime stories under a blanket fort. They bought new things for the nursery, a small mobile filled with tiny stars, a soft little hat, a book of lullabies to prepare for the baby's arrival. Every small purchase became a step toward hope, a quiet declaration that they were willing to believe again. But life was not kind to them. Just weeks before the birth, it happened again. The heartbeat stopped, and the terrifying silence returned. Another life slipped away before it had even begun. She was at a routine checkup when she noticed the doctor's expression suddenly change. When the machine showed nothing but stillness, she sat there staring at the ultrasound screen, silently begging it to show something. Anything. But the screen remained blank. The doctors tried to comfort her, but their words felt painfully small compared to the enormity of her loss. Her husband's hands trembled as he held her, both of them breaking under the weight of another tragedy they could not understand. This time the pain cut even deeper, like a wound reopened before it had a chance to heal. They returned home to a quiet house. The nursery remained untouched. The small mobile still turned slowly above an empty crib. Yet even then, she refused to grow bitter. Through her tears, she whispered, "If this is your plan, I will wait for your yes." She held tightly to her faith, even when it felt like the entire world had turned against her. She believed there was a reason, even if she could not see it yet. Holding on to trust in the darkness, her heart was bruised, but it never surrendered. 1 year later, she decided to try one more time. The third pregnancy felt different. Hope and fear lived side by side inside her heart. Every doctor's appointment felt like a gamble. Every single day felt like a prayer. At night, she would lie awake, resting her hand gently on her stomach, counting every kick and every flutter. She was terrified that if she stopped paying attention, the movements might stop too. She and her husband prayed more intensely than ever before, pouring out their hearts, believing with everything they had that this time would be different. That this time, they would finally be allowed to keep their miracle. They trusted the process. They dared to hope again, even when the odds felt stacked against them. And they loved that unborn child with a fierce devotion that defied every wound from their past. For 8 long months, it seemed as if the answer had finally become yes. The baby grew strong, and the mother glowed with a quiet, radiant health. The home that had once echoed with grief slowly filled with warmth again. They found the courage to paint the nursery once more, this time choosing a soft blue, like a clear sky after a storm. Friends and family smiled with relief. "The storm is finally over," they said. They gathered for a small baby shower filled with laughter and gentle joy. Tiny onesies were folded carefully into drawers. A small mobile waited to spin above the crib. And her mother knitted a soft blanket, each stitch carrying hope for the future. In the quiet evenings, the couple would sit together and dream. They imagined the day they would finally hold their child the first steps across the living room floor, the first tiny words spoken with wonder. Then the day arrived. The hospital room was filled with anticipation. The father held her hand tightly, his chest overflowing with pride. The mother laughed through tears of happiness, believing that every hardship she had endured had led to this moment. But then, in a single chilling second, the room fell silent. No cry, no sound of life, just a heavy stillness that seemed to stop time itself. The doctor froze, their face slowly turning pale. The father collapsed to his knees, his sobs echoing through the silent room, a sound of pure, unbearable grief that no parent should ever have to make. And then the mother's voice broke through the silence. "Why? Why again?" Her cry filled the hospital hallway, raw and desperate. The kind of pain that shatters every heart that hears it. She clung to her husband, begging for answers no one in that room could give. The pain was unbearable. A wound so deep it felt impossible it could ever heal. Once again, they left the hospital empty-handed. Once again, they returned home to a nursery that had become a painful reminder of what had been lost. For the third time, their dreams had been taken from them. "My child," I heard her cries. I saw the father's shoulders shake as grief consumed him. I saw the mother reach for a child that wasn't there. But in that moment, I remained silent. Not because I did not care, but because the truth behind what had happened was far darker than anyone could imagine. It was not I who took those lives. And it was not chance, bad luck, or some unexplained medical mystery. The truth pointed somewhere else, to the woman now lying in that ICU bed, her body surrounded by machines forcing air into her lungs. Each breath now feels like a sentence she cannot escape, because she was the shadow behind their suffering. She was the hidden hand that stole their joy, the unseen reason 3 innocent lives never entered the world. To understand this darkness, you must understand what envy can become when it grows unchecked. This woman was not simply wounded by life. Over time, bitterness hardened her heart. Jealousy took root like a poisonous vine, slowly choking every trace of compassion inside her. Instead of healing from her own losses, she allowed resentment to consume her thoughts. She watched the couple from afar, their love, their hope, their dream of becoming parents. And instead of celebrating their joy, she resented it. Where they saw a future, she saw a reminder of what she believed she had lost. And that bitterness twisted her perception until their happiness felt unbearable to her. Like someone waiting silently in tall grass, she observed their lives closely, watching for moments of vulnerability, moments when hope shone brightest. Because sometimes, the darkest actions begin with a single destructive thought left to grow unchecked. And when the nursery was ready, when the mother's joy seemed brightest, when the future looked certain, that was the moment when the darkness she carried began to reveal itself. These were words that weren't just cruel. They were cursed, spoken with an intent that pierced the spiritual realm. She didn't use a weapon you could see with your eyes. Her tools were quiet, hidden, and rooted in a darkness that thrives on pain. She would visit the couple, smiling to their faces, pretending to share joy, but her heart was miles away in a dark place. She would sit in their home, sipping tea, calmly, nodding as they talked about baby names, all while her words carried a poison no one could see. She would linger in their kitchen, her eyes scanning the nursery they lovingly prepared, her voice soft but sharp, planting seeds of doubt, fear, and loss. Each time the mother laughed, she spoke words in her heart designed to silence that laughter. Each time hope grew between the parents, she wove a thread of darkness around it to choke the life out of it. She waited until the final weeks when the parents' hearts were full and the birth was imminent. And then she tore it all down with her spiritual wickedness. 3 times she did this. 3 times she watched their world collapse, feeding on their grief like a parasite. She would see the mother's tears and the father's broken stare and feel a twisted satisfaction, like she had won something by taking their light. But who was this couple? And who was this woman who brought such suffering into their innocent lives? The couple was closer to you than you might think. Their home was just down the street, their smiles hiding a storm you would never guess they were enduring. You might have passed them in the market, seen them walking hand in hand, never knowing the immense weight they carried in their hearts. They were the kind of people who would wave at neighbors, who would stop to help a stranger, who would pray quietly and love deeply. Their home was small but warm, filled with photos of better days, of trips they had taken, and of moments they had hoped to share with their children. They would sit on their porch in the evenings, watching the sunset, holding on to each other, like they were each other's anchor in a turbulent sea. They were ordinary people, my child, but their love was extraordinary. And that is exactly what made their pain so sharp. And the woman who caused this, she wasn't a stranger or a distant enemy. She was family, someone they trusted implicitly. She was the sister-in-law, the one who would sit at their table, share their meals, and laugh at their jokes as if she were their greatest supporter. Her name was spoken with warmth in their household, cherished as family until the day the truth transformed that name into a bitter curse. You see, years ago, she too had dreamed of a child, envisioning a home filled with the chaotic, beautiful laughter of a family. She had pictured tiny feet running through her hallways and little hands tugging at her skirt, just as her brother and his wife did. She had planned a nursery of her own, picked out names in secret, and imagined a life full of love that would complete her. But her body failed her time and time again, and each loss chipped away at her soul, leaving cracks where the light used to be. Instead of seeking peace or healing for her broken heart, she allowed a seed of resentment to take root deep within her spirit. Jealousy began to whisper to her in the quiet of the night, and tragically, she chose to listen to its poisonous voice. It told her a lie that became her creed. If I can't have it, no one can. And she accepted this dark bargain. That is when she turned to something darker, something that promised her a sense of power of a life and death. Even as it took her soul, she traded her inner light for control, stepping into a shadow world where she felt she could dictate the happiness of others. With every step she took down this path, she moved further away from grace and deeper into a cold, isolated existence. Her heart became a desolate place where love could no longer live. She found a twisted joy in breaking others rather than healing herself. She began to delight in watching their dreams turn to dust, feeling a surge of power every time they stumbled. Each curse she spoke, whether in her mind or under her breath, tied her tighter to the darkness she had chosen to embrace. She would watch the couple prepare for their baby, seeing the mother's radiant glow and the father's swelling pride, and it burned her inside like acid. She would smile to their faces, offering congratulations and hugs, but behind their backs she would whisper words that carried a heavy spiritual weight. These words reached beyond the world we see, striking at the fragile life trying to grow, intent on snuffing it out. She did not want them to suffer for just a moment. She wanted them to break completely. She wanted them to feel the same emptiness that lived inside her. Night after night, she sat alone in the darkness of her home, her heart as cold as ice, replaying the couple's happiness like a film she despised. Their laughter, their hope, their dreams. To her, it felt unbearable. So she planned, patiently, carefully, obsessively. While they slept peacefully, unaware that the enemy lived right next door, she was already plotting how to destroy their happiness. And each time she succeeded, each time she saw their tears and heard their cries of heartbreak, something dark inside her was fed. It was a hunger, a deep and twisted hunger that only grew stronger with every tragedy. It demanded more pain, more sorrow, more loss before it would ever feel satisfied. 3 times she did this. 3 times she stole their light. 3 times she extinguished a future, leaving them wandering in darkness, searching for answers that never came. And now look where that path has led her. She lies there now, my child, in a cold hospital bed. Her body is only a fragile shell of what it once was. Machines beep softly in the quiet room. Tubes push air into her lungs, forcing each breath to continue. But every breath is also a reminder of the choices she made. She is not fighting for life because she loves it. She is fighting because she cannot escape the torment of her own existence. Heaven has not released her. The spiritual realm has locked the doors, keeping her trapped inside the body that now carries the weight of everything she has done. Every moment she lies awake, staring at the ceiling, she feels the crushing memory of the 3 innocent lives she destroyed, the pain she caused, the parents she shattered, the joy she stole from the world. All of it sits on her chest, like a stone that cannot be lifted. Her tears now cannot change the past. Her pleas for mercy cannot erase the deliberate cruelty of her actions. Justice does not bend for late regret. The truth is simple, and it is terrifying. She planted pain in the lives of others, and now she is harvesting that same pain in her own body. The Bible speaks of this law clearly. It is a law woven into the fabric of the universe, whether people believe it or not. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. What a person sows, they will also reap. This is not cruelty. It is balance. It is the divine order of the universe correcting what was done in darkness. Divine justice does not rush. It does not panic. But it never forgets. Nothing done in secret escapes the light forever. But pause for a moment, my child, because this story is not only about her and the consequences she faces. This story is also about you. It is about the weight every person carries through life, the choices we make each day, the paths we choose to walk. Life is not always gentle. It was not gentle to that couple, and eventually, it was not gentle to the woman who caused their pain. But the true lesson here is not only about what happens to us. The real lesson is about what we choose to do with the circumstances we are given. That couple lost everything 3 times, yet they refused to let tragedy destroy their spirits. Yes, they cried. Yes, they broke down. But they held on to something stronger than grief. They held on to each other. They held on to their faith. And they held on to the stubborn belief that goodness still existed in the world, even when it felt impossibly far away. And you, my child, will face storms of your own in this life, challenges that will test your strength and your resolve. Perhaps they will not look exactly like theirs. Perhaps they will not feel as heavy, but they will come. Storms always come. The question you must answer is this: will you allow those storms to define who you become? Or will you keep walking forward, even when the wind pushes against you? Life has a way of testing us. It places obstacles in our path that feel too heavy to move and too tall to climb. There will be moments when you want to give up, moments when the road ahead feels too long and the answers refuse to appear. Perhaps it is a dream that keeps slipping away from your hands. Perhaps it is a door that never seems to open. Perhaps it is a loss that cuts deeply into your soul. Or maybe it is the smaller battles of everyday life, the quiet frustrations that slowly pile up until you feel like you are running in place. A late bill, a missed opportunity, an argument with someone you love, or one of those days when absolutely everything seems to go wrong. Those moments, whether they are life-altering tragedies or small, frustrating setbacks, are not sent to break you. They are meant to shape you. They strengthen your spirit and push you towards something greater than you can see right now. Discouragement is a liar that whispers in your ear, telling you to stop. It tells you that you're not enough, that the struggle isn't worth it. But you must not listen. You are enough, my child, because you are still here, still breathing, still fighting, even when the odds feel impossible. And that alone proves a strength many people never discover within themselves. Think about the couple in this story and the unimaginable courage they showed in the face of darkness. After the first loss, they could have given up on hope. After the second, they could have grown bitter and distant from the world. After the third, they could have cursed everything and walked away from faith entirely. But they didn't. They kept moving forward even when every breath felt heavy. Even when logic told them it would be easier to surrender to despair. They held on to each other like a lifeline, believing that their suffering had a purpose beyond what they could see. At night they would sit together, speaking softly about the children they had lost, imagining who they might have become. In those quiet conversations, they kept those memories alive inside their home. And when they prayed, they didn't pray only for themselves. They prayed for others walking through the same valley of pain, asking for strength and comfort for families who were grieving too. That is what I ask of you today, my child. When life becomes heavy and the road grows difficult, do not release your faith. Do not allow the enemy to whisper lies that make you question your worth or your future. You are not walking this path alone. Even when the fog is thick and you cannot see the way forward, I am still beside you, guiding every step you take. Now look at the other path, the path chosen by the woman lying in the ICU. When life disappointed her, she allowed her pain to transform into poison. Instead of healing, she allowed bitterness to grow until it consumed her completely. She saw someone else's joy and convinced herself it was unfair. And in her heart, she decided that if happiness was denied to her, no one else deserved it either. That is what jealousy does to the soul. It doesn't only harm the people around you, it destroys the person who carries it. It steals your peace, darkens your spirit, and leaves nothing behind but regret. Now she lies there replaying every decision she made, feeling the weight of the darkness she once embraced. Her story is a warning, my chilled reminder that the energy you release into the world always finds its way back to you. You cannot curse someone else's blessing without poisoning your own spirit. You cannot spread pain without eventually feeling its return. But you do not have to walk that path. You have the power to choose something different. You can choose healing. You can choose growth. You can choose love even when life gives you every reason to become bitter. Even when the climb feels steep and your legs are tired, you can keep moving forward. The couple in this story chose love instead of hatred. They chose faith instead of despair. They believed their pain was not the final chapter of their lives. And you can make that same choice. Your struggles, your losses, and your doubts are not the end of your journey. They are part of the process, the refining fire that shapes who you are meant to become. And there is something beautiful about what happened next in that couple's story. After their third devastating loss, they did not stop living. They grieved deeply, but they also began to grow. They planted a small garden in their backyard, turning the soil with quiet determination. For each child they had lost, they planted a rose. 3 roses, red and white, standing as living tributes to the lives that never had the chance to bloom in this world. In the evenings, they would sit together beside those flowers, holding hands as the sun dipped below the horizon. In that quiet garden, they discovered a gentle peace they never expected to find again. They talked about their dreams, not only the dreams they had lost, but new ones waiting to be born. And slowly, their pain began to transform into purpose. They started reaching out to other families who had experienced the same heartbreak. They listened to grieving parents, shared their story, and offered something priceless: understanding. Sometimes they simply sat beside someone in silence. Sometimes they prayed with them. But every time, they reminded another broken heart of an important truth: you are not walking through this darkness alone. Their pain became a bridge, a way to connect with others, to heal broken hearts, and to show that light could still shine through the cracks. And that is the powerful thing about pain, my child. It has the potential to either break you or build you. It can turn you inward like it did for the woman in the ICU, or it can push you outward toward others, toward something bigger than yourself. The couple chose to let their pain mean eyeing. They didn't let it define them as victims. They let it refine them as survivors. They found ways to give back, to love deeper, and to live fuller lives even while carrying their scars. They would volunteer at a local shelter, bringing food, clothes, and kindness to those who had nothing, spreading the love they still had to give. They would write letters to other grieving parents, sharing words of hope and reminding them that they were not alone in the dark. They would pray not just for themselves, but for a world that was broken and needed healing. And through it all, they held on to each other, their love growing stronger and more resilient through the fire they walked through. That is what I am asking of you, my child. Whatever you are facing right now, whatever weighs heavy on your spirit, let it teach you. Let it make you kinder, stronger, and braver. Let it remind you that you are not just here for yourself. You are here to lift others up, to shine light in dark places, and to keep going even when it is hard. Maybe your struggle is a loss like theirs, or maybe it is something else, a job that didn't work out, a relationship that's strained, or a dream that feels out of reach. Maybe it is the small things that chip away at you, a bad day, a harsh word, or a moment when you feel invisible to the world. But every struggle, big or small, has a divine purpose. It is shaping you, pushing you, and preparing you for what is next. The woman in the ICU, her story isn't over yet. She is still breathing, still paying her debt, and still facing the truth of what she did. Her body is weak, but her mind is awake, replaying every moment, every choice, and every curse she spoke into the lives of others. She sees the faces of the couple, the nursery they prepared with love, and the dreams she shattered with her envy. With every breath, she feels the crush in weight of it all. But her story isn't just about justice. It is about choice. She chose darkness, and it led her here to this bed of regret. She let her pain twist her, let her envy consume her spirit, and now she is living the consequences of those choices. But you, my child, you can choose light. You can choose to rise above your pain, to hold on to hope, and to trust that every step has a purpose. The road isn't easy, and I never said it would be. There will be twists, turns, and moments when you feel lost in the woods. You will stumble, you will doubt, and you will wonder why it has to be so hard. But I am with you always, even in the fog, even in the storm. Your trials are not random accidents. They are made for you, designed to shape you into someone who can carry the weight of their divine purpose. Think of it like a potter with clay. The clay doesn't become a beautiful vessel without pressure, without heat, and without shaping. Your struggles are the hands of the potter molding you, refining you, and making you ready for what you are meant to hold. You want life to be simple, don't you? We all do. We want blessings to fall like rain without the work. We want the path to be smooth, the answers to be clear, and the journey to be easy. But that is not how growth happens. Easy doesn't build character, and comfort doesn't deepen faith. It is the hard moments, the ones that make you dig deep, that show you who you truly are. Everyone faces them. Not just you, not just the broken, but everyone. The rich, the poor, the strong, the weak. We all walk through fire at some point, and those moments aren't there to stop you. They are there to strengthen you, to push your roots deeper into the ground, and to make your love real. Think about it like a tree. A tree doesn't grow strong roots in calm weather. It is the wind, the storms, and the push and pull that make its roots grip the earth tighter to survive. Your struggles are like that wind. They are not here to uproot you, but to make you hold on harder and stand taller. The couple in this story faced storms that would have broken most people, but they held on to each other. to their faith, and to the belief that their pain wasn't the end of the story. They found ways to keep going, to find meaning, and to make their loss a light for others to follow. And you can hold on to whatever you are facing. Whatever feels too heavy, it is not the end. It is just a chapter, one that is making you ready for what is next. So keep going, my child. Don't let the weight pull you down. Don't let the doubts win over your heart. The fog will clear, the light will break through, and you will see the purpose behind it all. Your story is still being written, so make it a story worth telling. Keep walking, keep believing, and keep loving, because the road is leading you somewhere beautiful. To ensure you stay on this path and receive the encouragement you need every day, please click the subscribe button right now. Join our community of believers who choose light over darkness.